Hi everyone, welcome to the another video of Postman series. So today in this video, we are going to see about building the request workflows. So workflow in the sense, so how the Postman collection execution order is happening. Okay, so for example, let me create one new collection. So okay, after creating the collection, I'm going to name as workflows. Okay, so this is a collection name. So inside this collection name, okay, let me create one new request. So let me copy the endpoint from the previous request. Okay, so this is a post method. I'm just copying this, okay, endpoint. And let me go here and make this as a post. I'm sending this one, okay. So since it's a post method, so we have to send the request body. So I'm sending a JSON input here, okay. So I'm going to send like a name, okay. And job and employee ID. Okay, so these are the attributes that I'm going to send now. So employee ID is just a 212, something like this. Okay, so when I send this request, so I'll be getting the response as a 201, which is a status created. Okay, since this is a post method, we are creating the resources. Okay, so let me save this as request one. Okay, and I'm going to create one more method here. Oh, this is conflict. I change to post. Okay, so now the same method. So okay, let me copy the get method endpoint. Okay, this is a get method endpoint. So let me come here and I create the new request. Okay, so I'm pasting this value here. So this page number is like a 1. Okay, and this one I'm going to give the name as request 2. Okay, so we have just created one collection by the name of workflow. So inside this, I have two requests. So let me duplicate this one again to make it as a request 3. RQ3. Okay, so now I have 3 requests. Okay, so now if I want to run this collection, so what we have to do, we have to go here, run collection, and this will be selected everything. So now if you click on the run collection button, this will run. Okay, and if you notice, it is running in the same order of that collection that appears here, right? So when you run this collection, so typically when you start run the collection, the postman will default by go the same order that you have done in the collection level. So here it is done like a 1, 2, 3. Okay, that is the order is going here. So if at all, if you want to control your workflow, so for example, after running the request 1, I want to jump to the request 3. So after request 3, I want to go for a request 5, right? So where it comes in the sense, so for example, scenario based, like so you are sending some input. If output is coming something else, so you have to go for a one row. Okay, if it is coming else, like you have to go for another row. Okay, so for example, 1, 3, 5 is one case, and 1, 2, 4, 6 is a one case. Okay, so you want to modify the workflow runs. So what you can do now, you can just go to this collection window. Okay, if you want to deselect everything, and you can deselect, and if you want to select all, you can select. Okay, so here also you can do the rearrangement. So for example, you can you can move drop and down like this. So you can do the rearrangements. But this is typically will take a time, right? So all the time you want to come here and you want to change the collections order. So instead of doing that, what we can do, we can change in the our execution script itself. Okay, so now let's me go to the first one. Okay, so this is the first request. Okay, I'm going to define here. So after the request 1, I want to execute the request 3. So in that case, what you wanted to know, you have to go to the test tab, because the postman execution order is what? It will execute the pre-request instruction. Then it will execute your endpoint and you will get response. From response, it will execute whatever the test that you have written. This is a workflow, correct? Postman run execution order. So that is what we covered in the last video. So here what we have to define in the sense. So just type postman. Okay, dot set next request is the function. Okay, in the function you can see you have to provide the request name. Okay, so you can see name of the request to be executed next. set the next request to be executed. Okay. So now here you have to provide the request name. So how do we get the request name? Okay, for example, after the request 1, I want to execute the request 3. So what is the request name here? So your request name is nothing. So whatever the name that you have updated here. Okay, so for in this case, it is RUQ_3. Okay, so this is a request name. So now what happens when you run this collection? So after the one request 1 is executed, so it will go and execute the request 3. Okay. So now I'm copying the same thing. Okay, and I'm going to the request 2. Sorry, request 3. Because after 1, we are just given the instruction to go for a request 3. Right. So request 2, I'm just coming here and I'm putting as 2. Okay. So now from request 3, we are going to the request 2. Okay. So now let's go to the run collection. Okay. It is keep on running because we made some mistake. So now let's see. So request 1, first one which is executed. So after that, it gone to the request 3. Okay. So from request 3, it went to request 2. Correct. So this is the first order that we have defined, the first 3 requests. So this is the iteration that we have defined. Okay. 1, 3, 2. So after 2, you can see again it is going for a request 3. So why it is going for a request 3? Because in the request 2, we have not defined anything, but still it is running. So how it is running in the sense, after request 2, I have by default in the collection order, I have request 3. Okay, so that's the reason it is going for request 3. So from request 3, we have given the request 2. Okay, so that's the reason it is going in the loop. So if at all, if you want to stop, for example, let me duplicate this as a request 4. Okay, in this case, it will not run. Okay, it will not run in the loop. I mean, it will not go for a multiple execution. So now let's go for a run collection. So now if I do this, okay, it is not at all going for request 4 because the request 3, we have given the instruction to go for a request 2. Okay, so it is running in between 2 and 3. You can see it is running between the 2 and 3. Okay, so when you do this set next, I mean, the postman.set next request function, so you have to more clear about it. Okay, so here in the sense, so we are going for a request from the request 1, we are going to the request 3. Okay, so from request 3, again, we are coming to the request 2, right? So by default, postman execute again the same order. So now the request 2 is executed. Again, it is going for a 3 and it is running on the loop. Right? It is not going for a request 4. So in that case, what I will do now, I will come here in the request 2, I will define at a 4. Okay. So now let's go to the runner class and I'm going for a new run. Now it can see it will not go for a loop. Okay. So now also it's gone in the loop because I just duplicated this value, that duplicated this one also. I'm going to delete this. Okay. So now let's go here, just go for a new run. So now it will go the order of 1, 3, 2, 4. That's it. You can see 1, 3, 2, 4. So from the request 1, we are going to the request 3. From request 3, we are going to the request 2. From request 2, we have given the request 4. Okay. So when you define the workflow, you have to be more clear about it. Okay. So for example, so here, this is my request. Okay, first request. So for example, if my first request is success, then I want to execute the remaining test cases, right? For example, if your login is failed, you cannot do anything else, right? So in that case, what you can do, you can simply add some condition like this. So where you can add your if statement, pm.response.code, right? If the code is coming, so here in the sense, so here the code is coming as a 201, right, for post method. So I can do like this. Okay, and control B, which will align your code like this. So now what happens? If first method is success, then it will go and execute the request 3. So for example, I'm going to make some mistakes here. Okay, I'm removing the endpoint value, invalid endpoint I have updated. So now let's go for a collection runner. Now we can see the request 3 is ignored. It not executed because my request one was coming as a 404. Okay, so here I have set the condition. If it is coming only as a 201, then go ahead and execute them, the third request, correct? So that's the reason it got stopped. So now which scenario you can apply in the sense? So for example, you have one QA environment, the same collection you want to run for a QA and UAT. So based on the variable, you can type in the, you can key in the environment variable or collection variable. So if it is a QA, then this is a path. If it is a UAT, then this is a path you have to define. Okay. So in this case, so where you can jump from one request to another. So we are just building our workflow for our purpose, our use case purpose. Okay. Either you can provide the request name or you can provide your request ID also. Okay. So now, for example, this is a request 3. Okay. So when you go to this request 3 and when you click on the information button in the right side, okay, if you click on this information button, so this is an ID for this particular request. Okay. And you have to ignore this first 8 digits. So you have to copy it from only here. Okay. So I'm just copying this and let's go to the request 1. So I'm going to replace it here. Okay. Either you can use the request name or request ID, anything is fine. So now I have updated the endpoint also. So now it has to run as 1, 3, 2, then 4. Okay. Sorry, 4 and 2. Okay. Let's run this. Yeah. You can see 1 and it gone to the 3 now. So you can use the name, request name or request ID. So the request ID, when you click on the I button, you have to take it from here. Just ignore the first 8 digits. Okay, just take this one alone. So this part alone. Okay, do not take the first one. Okay, either you can use the name or you can use the ID, request info ID. Okay, anything you can use that. So after 4, okay, for example, I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to name this as a request 5. Okay. So now if I run this collection, I have not given any instruction on anywhere to execute all the request 5. Correct. So now let's go to new run. Let's run this. Now we can see 1, 3, 2, 4. This is what we have customized. And 5 also it is getting executed. So in some scenario, I don't want to go beyond 4. Okay, I want to execution to be stopped in the 4 itself. I don't want to execute the 5. Okay, in that case, what you can do now, you can give the postman.setNextRequest null. The moment when you update as a null, so after this request, no more request will be executed on this particular collection. Okay, so that is what the meaning of a null. So it will immediately stop to stop the workflow. Okay, so if you use the null in any, for example, we are using in the 4 request 4, right? So now it will not execute the request 5. So let me go to the workflow and click on the new run. So even though you can see it is selected as a 5, right? You can uncheck this, but in this case, we are going to check this one because we want to see it is getting stopped in the 4 itself or not. So now I'm going to run this. You can see the request stopped by the 4 itself. So even though the checkbox is selected for the request 5, it is not executed. Why? Because we have updated the null condition here. Okay. So now when it has come to real time, right? So this is how you have to do the validation. So let me change back to, so you can use ID and the name. Okay. Sorry, ID or name. Okay. So here I'm going to update as a request to again. Okay. So now my first condition is satisfied, right? So which means my first method is passed. Then I want to go ahead and execute. For example, let us assume this is your login. Okay. And this is your order request or something else. So if your login is failed, you don't want to run further. So in that case, what you can do now? So what has happened now? So let me change this. I'm going for a run collection. So what is happening now? So it is running the remaining request. You can see the first one is 404. Okay. So my login is failed. Let us assume my login is failed, but remaining test cases are executed. I don't want to do that. Okay. So in that case, what you can do, you can apply the else condition. Because my login is failed, I don't want to go beyond that particular step, right? So in that case, you can give it as a null here. Okay. So if your status code, you can update any conditions here. For example, the name should become as first name, and the status code or status message, right? Or success response, anything you can have it as any conditions here. Okay. So now let's go here and I'm going for a new run. So now you can see it will stop in the request 1 itself. You can see the collection is stopped. It is asking to run again. Why? Because we have applied the else condition. So now similarly, you can apply the same conditions to across all the requests. So I'm going to the request 2. Okay. So here also I'm just pasting this and this one as a request 4. Okay. And here the request status code will come as a 200. Okay. So when it is come to get method, so we are getting the 200 response. Okay. So you can apply this 200. So now let me copy the same request. So from 2, we are jumping onto the 4, right? In the 4 also, I'm going to update this. So from 4, we have to jump on to the 5. Okay. So I have updated as a 5. So from 3 also, let's check what we have. So from 3, it is going for the request 2. Okay. So here also I update as a 2. Okay. So when it is come to 5, I want to stop. So even though if it is in the last request in the collection, by default, it will stop. If you want to stop it manually, so you can simply use this code. Okay. I mean, by default, the postman collection will end in the last request. Okay. So now if you look at, so from the first request, we are going to the request 3. Okay. Let me change it to request 3 here. We are going to the request 3. So from request 3, we are coming to the request 2. From request 2, we are going to the request 4. From request 4, we are going to the request 5. And we are stopping. Okay. So now let's go to the workflow and click on the new run. And I'm going to run this now. Okay. Okay, let me change the URL back to the normal. Okay. And make sure always you are saving the request, otherwise the collection will not consider for the changes. Okay, so now I'm just clicking on the run again. You can see the first one is 201, which is condition satisfied. It is going for the third request. From 3, it is going to the 2. From 2, it is going to the 4. From 4, it is going to the 5. Okay, let me go to the 2 and I will make it as a 5 here. Okay, so from 5, we'll come back to the 4. So, sorry, from request 2, okay, from request 1, we are going to the 3. From 3 to, we are going to 2. Okay, 1 second. Request 3, request 3 to 2. Then you go for a 2. We are going for a 5 from 2, 5. So from 5, again, we have to come to the 4. Okay, so let me copy it here and paste it here. I want to go for a 4. So when I go to the 4, I want to stop them. Okay. So here you can give postman set request as a none. Okay. So the flow now, what we have defined is from request 1, 3, 3 to 2, 2 to 5, 5 to 4. Okay. Let's go here and click on the new run. Okay, you can see 1 to 3, 3 to 2, 3 to 5, 5 to 4. Okay. By default, it will stop in the 5 or 5 1, even though if you're not defining anything as a null. Okay, because that is the last request in my collection. Okay, but here we have made, we have made the changes to execute the 4th one as a last one. Okay, since after, nothing is getting executed after the 4th because we have set it as a null. So if I remove this, so what happens? One more time, the request 5 will execute. Let's see now. You can see, so it is still keep on running. The 4 and 5, it is keep on running because if you take the first one, so this is what the flow we have defined: 1 to 3, 3 to 2, 2 to 5, 5 to 4. Okay, after this, you can see it is going for a 5 again. Why it is? It is by default, the postman and collection will run your last request in the collection. Okay, so when it is go to the 5, in the 5, we have written the instruction to go again to the 4. Okay, so that's the reason it is running on the loop. Okay, so when you define the workflow, you have to be very careful what request will be executed next based on the condition. So like this, you can apply the status code or some response message validation, anything. Okay, when I send this, okay, if the ID is coming as a 2, then execute the request 2. So like that, you can build your workflow. If you don't build the workflow, then postman will execute the order in the same order that you have defined in the collection. Okay, if you want to build your workflow, you can do this. Okay. So that's all about this video. If you have any doubts or queries, please feel free to ask in the comment section. Thank you, guys.